Selections from I Am by Klein. Liberation does not concern the person. Liberation is freedom from the person. The idea of being a person, an ego, is nothing other than an image held together by memory. The mind will lead you astray until you perceive its true nature. Your attention is constantly turned either toward objects or to ideas. You know yourself only in relation to something. A sense of being without qualification is completely unknown to you. We discover ourselves in attention. This attention transcends the experience and the experiencer. It is pure awareness. The waking state and dream state are imposed upon this still awareness. When you have once glimpsed your real nature, it solicits you. There is nothing to do, only to be attuned to it. It is not the mind which attunes to awareness, but awareness which absorbs the mind. Once the mind is free from activity, fear, and dissatisfaction, you will see that your only true desire is to be. The self is searching for itself. A deep understanding of this brings us spontaneously back to our home ground. When you are free from the mental habits of activity and passivity, you will find yourself in your natural quiet attention, that in which thoughts appear and disappear. Whether thoughts come to mind or not, you will not be bound to them. When you are active or passive regarding the coming and going of feelings and thoughts, you see and act from the ego center. But when you come to know the illusory nature of this center, you are automatically out of the process. When you are in awareness, there's no more center. Awareness is aware of its surroundings and aware of being aware. The ultimate non-state is awareness itself. Thoughts and pulsations appear in this awareness. Don't try to witness. Realize that you are the witness and that you cannot try to be it. It is enough that you become fully aware that you are the witness. You are not the doer of your acts. You are the awareness from which action stems. Uncover the person who feels something is missing. The moment you no longer believe you are the body and the mind, the energy used in this error will be freed. Leave the mind and body free to be what they are, and you will no longer be their slave. Once the mind stops trying to grasp, it returns to a state of equilibrium where everything points towards silent awareness. The quiet mind is not the absence of thoughts. What you are is the light behind all perceptions. Awareness can never become an object. It is neither outside nor inside. It is free from time and space. It is the vastness, the container in which all states and objects appear. If consciousness could be perceived, it would not be our totality. The meditator can never find peace, God, or happiness because it, the meditator, belongs to the mind, to the intellect. All this accumulation of states and sensations and techniques is nothing but vanity. It still belongs to the person who looks for security and confirmation. Conflict and problems all derive from the mind as it tries to justify its existence. When you see this suddenly, in the utter conviction of total awareness, you become conscious of what you have never ceased to be. The true aim of our existence is to be, without conditioning. If the mind remains confused and keeps striving to attain something, however subtle, however open-minded, it will inevitably finish up by turning round and round in circles within the same old structures. The ego likes to direct things and circumstances according to its wishes. The ego has its origins in a mental image, I am the body. We do not know things. We only know them in appearance, which is nothing but name and form. To know a thing itself, we must go far beyond its appearance. As what you are is not a state, it is a waste of time and energy chasing more and more experiences in the hope of coming closer to the non-experience. In an experience, you see that there is still an experiencer who is stuck in the pattern of going in and out of states. Global understanding is the sudden awareness that the perceiver of these states is unaffected by them, that they appear in the perceiver. Awareness is the essential element. Any action influenced by the concept of the individual I traps us in a vicious circle. In these circumstances, we are the doer, the thinker, and are chained in a psychological relationship to the act or thought. In truly creative moments, everything takes place without an I interfering. Everything points toward awareness and is integrated in it. When once we take the object as a pointer to what we are, a path opens up before us. The total emptiness which you experience during meditation is in a way still an object. Emphasize the knower of the empty mind and not the empty mind itself. Once you are knowingly this awareness, you no longer identify with the mind. We are accustomed to being attentive towards something, but pure attention is not focused on an object. It is free from any memory. It is simply expanded alertness. The question, "Who am I?" will be found to have no answer. You can only formulate and explain that which you are not. What you fundamentally and continually are cannot be put into words or reasoned about. What you fundamentally are is always here, always complete. It needs no purification. It never changes. You cannot discover or become truth, for you are it. There's nothing to do to bring it closer. See only that you are constantly trying to go away from what you are. Silent awareness is not a state, but is the continuum in which all states, all things, appear and disappear. You are the witness, the onlooker, standing on the bank watching the river flow on. You do not move. You are changeless. Silent awareness is beyond the absence or presence of thoughts, words, activity, or passivity. Nothing whatsoever can affect this tranquility. Sooner or later you will find there is no room for personal identity. There remains only a deep inner peace from conflict and problems. You know your thoughts, your emotions and feelings, but you don't know the knower. Everyday life appears in consciousness. You are this consciousness, but are not what appears day after day. We have taken it for granted and believe ourselves to be this me. The me always seems to be at the center of things. It is a false appropriation. You are seeking your real nature. What you are looking for is what you are, not what you will become. Looking for something to become is completely conceptual, on the level of ideas. The body and mind have no reality in themselves. They are entirely dependent on consciousness. They change constantly. It is the changeless background that allows us to realize this. We take ourselves for something that we are not. All our actions and thoughts, our ideas of success and failure, real and unreal, come out of this false idea of being. The perceiver is distinct from what is perceived. The person, the individual, the ego, is but an object of perception. It is only by our habit and error that we identify ourselves with our perceptions. Suffering and pain are strong pointers inviting us to inquire just who is suffering. The accent shifts from the perceived to the ultimate perceiver, whose nature is joy beyond pleasure or its absence. Thought arises from silence and loses itself in silence. Its function is to point towards that from which it arises, the ultimate, which is unthinkable. The ego is nothing but a thought amongst many others. It is a product of memory, of the past. You exist because you are an expression of pure consciousness. Your nature is to be alert and aware of what appears in you. But you must be knowingly aware, must know yourself to be aware. Our true nature is not, properly speaking, a state. It is the very substance, the background to all states. It is silent presence. all effort to eliminate or become is useless, because the attempt is itself part of what you are trying to eliminate. The direct way is so simple. You abide in the seeing, and the rest takes care of itself. Searching for yourself in any way is a complete waste of time. This must become a perfectly obvious fact to you. We can never find enlightenment in the realm of thoughts and concepts. All striving by the me is a hindrance. The self is silent awareness. But this silence is beyond concept and cannot be defined in terms of silence as opposed to noise. Thus, trying to rid ourselves of agitation so as to attain a state of silence keeps us in conflict. If, on the contrary, we accept the agitation as an expression of silence, it dissolves in the acceptance. You cannot hope to rid yourself of agitation if you remain on its wavelength. You must listen to it as a whole. It then dies into silence, for it is nothing but silence. The self is unthinkable, beyond mind and the psyche. All striving to objectify the knower, which cannot be conceived of in terms of concepts, prevents us from directly perceiving our true nature. The world always appears to us according to the point of view we adapt. For the senses, it is form. For the mind, it is ideas. For the self, it is consciousness. The light is always there before the object appears. Whatever you do, you are always consciousness. It cannot be otherwise. Confusion invades you once you believe yourself to be the doer, the thinker, the willer. In reality, you are purely the witness of your actions. Memory is only a thought amongst many others. When we clearly recognize memory as being only a thought, the illusion of time leaves us. Thought, memory, and time arise from still awareness. We often try to master the mind, to quiet it through concentration, but soon realize that concentration and distraction belong equally to the divided mind. We cannot possibly master the mind by means of the mind. Awareness is beyond dispersion and concentration. Our true self is never to be found in a perception, in an object. Consciousness is the hearth from which sparks fly and lose themselves. We erroneously identify with these sparks. They are but fragments. All perceptions are objects perceived in consciousness. Fear is therefore an object, a perception. Taking oneself to be a person is a habit. It is a desire to be distinct from one's surroundings, different from others. The perceived leads directly to perceiving. It is the shortest way to consciousness. You cannot perceive the perceiving because you are it. The truth seeker emphasizes the seeing. He does not explore the object as such, but uses it only to establish himself in the seeing. An artist is looking for something, and when he finds it, he keeps it. The truth seeker finds himself only in the looking. We should absolutely take note how all our thoughts and doings come out of a center and involve choice. Awareness without tension, where you are involved and do not seek a conclusion, is total awareness. All intention to manipulate the future comes from a partial point of view, that of the ego. Culture, education, social and economic factors have conditioned our body and mind. Our true being is neither implicated in nor influenced by these limits. It is completely free. Awareness is not a state. States are in awareness. It is only awareness which makes states possible. Because we do not know ourselves except in relation to objects, we always strive to find ourselves in relation to objects. With the deep understanding that the doer, the willer, is an illusion, you will find yourself in complete stillness following an act or thought. If you feel tired, really look at it, and you will spontaneously find yourself uninvolved in it. Do the same with all the worries that preoccupy you. It gradually dawns on us that we are not the person, that we are this awareness. This becomes more and more tangible. When we really wake up, what we previously called being awake seems also like a dream. Only in the complete absence of yourself is there total presence. Stillness does not mean a peaceful mind. The mind can be temporarily calm, but this is not stillness. It is in the nature of the mind to move. Stillness is not in the slightest way affected by this movement. Everything is an expression of silence. It is the object, the body-mind, which suffers. What we are is the knower of the suffering. An ambitious mind can never be a free mind. Whatever we do or think, we are awareness. If awareness were only a mental function like all others, it would disappear like all functions. But it never disappears. The mind exists within awareness. Its very nature is to express this awareness by means of name and form. Thoughts, feelings, and actions appear in succession before the witness, leaving their imprint in your brain. Recalling them makes you believe in a continuity which is actually non-existent. Above all, do not try to be a witness. This would only be a projection and would keep you in the frame of ideas and expectations. The mind is simply an activity which comes and goes. The witness records this lack of continuity. You live in awareness, which is sacred. This is your true nature. In this non-state, there is neither desire nor anxiety. It is inherent that the human condition try to locate itself somewhere in a bodily sensation or a thought. If we let things flow freely, we will discover ourselves to be observation. You are not the body, neither the healthy nor the unhealthy body. When we know that we can never find what we are seeking in an object, no matter how subtle, then our attention shifts to observation itself. We are awake in objects, but not in the self. When you are attentive to something, you are fixed on the object. But when you are simply in attention, you are free from all grasping. Timeless presence, the background behind and between perceptions and thoughts, is pure consciousness. It is through the known that the unknown expresses itself. The ultimate expresses itself in space and time and dies back in itself. It is only the mind that asks questions. True joy is not linked to outside circumstances. It flows directly from the self. The ultimate end, if there is one, is to free yourself from this identification with the person. You can find yourself free from thought, but you can never cease being what you are fundamentally. You must leave behind the idea of improving. There is nothing to be found, nothing to achieve. Searching and wanting to achieve something are the fuel for the entity you believe yourself to be. Be simply aware of the facts of your existence without wanting change. No effort can lead you to this ultimate harmony. Every attempt leads you farther away. The strongest insight is an instantaneous apperception that your total being is always present, always in the now. The unknown is the closest to us. Everything you take to be personal, everything the eye creates or respects, is false. Liberation consists in being free from the me. Understanding this is a sudden opening to a new dimension. Problems, weariness, boredom, depression stem only from the mistaken notion of taking ourselves for a certain person with certain ideas, a particular background, and so on. Our difficulties come when our projections into the future in the hope of attaining some result are thwarted. Only when we live in our wholeness, free from the person, free from all goals, preferences, and choice, can there be a full expression of life. If we observe things more closely, we soon come to realize that it is the body that is doing the acting and the mind the thinking. Consciousness is its own light. It does not need a vehicle. Objects, on the contrary, depend entirely on consciousness. They could not be perceived otherwise. In letting go of all trying, time no longer exists. There is no more expectation. We are taught to superimpose the past on the present and future, and so we lose the excitement, the newness of the moment. While the child still focuses on the objects of inquiry, the mature seeker focuses on the inquiring itself. And one day, discovers himself to be the inquiring. In awareness, there is no thought of action or not. You simply function in the moment itself. The last and the first obstacle is the idea of being somebody. In the practical approach, there is no disciple and no teacher. If there were, there would only be teaching on a mental level. All that the mind can know is not you. You are neither this nor that. You are the knower of all.